All ready to go here.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right. Let's see here. We'll call this land use meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. If I could just get a roll call, so it's on, it's being recorded. If everyone can say their name.
Marshall.
Mary Rodriguez. Mary McGrattan.
Kevin Dombrowski.
Mike Cherry.
Mike. Dave Holdridge. Roxanne Marr.
Yep, and Gary Paul. We got both mics, right?
Yeah, I stepped on Mike, so I didn't hear his name.
Yep, Mike Morelli and Mike Cherry.
Okay, Mike Morelli.
Yep.
Great, got it. Thank you.
Okay, we got everybody. All right, any comments from public?
Yes. Gary, do you hear me?
Yep, I hear you, David.
Okay, well, I just
Nice to
wanted
see you, by the way.
Very good. Yes, the Ledger Conservation Commission voted at their last meeting to nominate the Greenway, the Tri-Town Trail as a Connecticut Greenway. And part of the requirements is that there be a town resolution. And so we need to ask the town council to endorse this resolution. And I just wanted to point out that that this greenway is also being nominated in parallel by the town of Groton, the same corridor.
Mhm.
And the Greenway Council will be meeting in April, and they will take this under consideration. So between now and then, we're hoping that the town council will vote to endorse this nomination. And the map is attached to the materials that you have there. I'm open to answer any other questions that you might have.
This is on the agenda as new business item number 1, just so you know.
Okay. Oh, I see it. Yep, that's right. I did see that. All right, well, we can do that when we get to that part of it. All right, no questions for now though, right? Anybody?
Let's wait till we get to the agenda, Gary.
Okay, yeah, yep. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I had something.
Go ahead, Mike.
The Freedom First Wildlife Rehab is what they're trying to do, is bring back the barn owls. And right now
Oh,
they're,
yeah, I saw that.
you saw that? And
Yeah.
I was just wondering about 1025, Colonel Ledyard, if they were looking for places, recommended, they're looking for people to recommend places where they could, I guess, try to reestablish them. They're looking for at least 25 acres. I believe you have over 100 acres up there. And they're also looking for open farmland or fields. So I just thought, with land use, would you think it was a good idea? And should I contact them and maybe investigate it?
Okay. Anybody with any follow-up questions on that?
Just some input. The Hall property up the street from me's got about 500 acres and barns. Perfect for owls. Right in Mike's backyard.
Yeah, it would help with the chipmunks and other
Mhm.
small animals that are digging all the time. Mike, did you guys get a list of properties that meet that 25 acres that are in general open space or farmland?
No, I have not put together a list like that. I know there is a number of ones. One of the other recommendations is, well, not recommendations, but conditions, is that the property owner does not use a rodent side, because the owls will eat the rodents who have eaten up, the rodent aside. So, there's just something I saw. I'm just starting to look into the different places.
I'll put a list together this week and send you an email.
Alrighty, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on? All right. We can definitely keep that or talk about that at another time and put that on the agenda, Mike, too. So I don't have any informational items. So we're going to move on to review and approval of the prior minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or see anything that needs to be fixed? Yeah,
Commissioner Rodriguez, on the organizational meeting, December 7th, 2021, the date for November should be November 7th, not November 17th for our meeting. And a question for Roxanne, are we proofreading words or do we just leave it as is?
If you see that there's some spelling errors or edits, you can always just send them to me and I'll just correct them.
Okay, there's just one on that page, on second page, but I'll send that to you. Thank you.
Just let me know and I'll correct the typo.
Okay, thank you.
do I have a motion to approve the minutes with corrections?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's see here. Again, forgive me, everybody. It's moving a little slow. All right, old business. Continue
No,
just, yep, go ahead.
For the regular special meeting, I have corrections on those minutes also.
Okay, just send them to me, Naomi, and I'll update them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. So we would need a motion for both of those, Roxanne?
No, you can do them together.
So we covered that on the initial motion?
Right, yep, that's fine.
All right, with the corrections, okay. Just wanted to make sure. Under old business, we have continued discussion regarding Ledyard's annual operation for road maintenance, the road repairs and resurfacing relative leaks and breaks in the water system that cause ongoing repair, work requiring excavation and patching work on the newly paved streets. This was something that was on the agenda that we talked about last month. Do we have any more discussion on this?
We talked about when they tear up the road, they need to restore it back to the center line from line to line, correct?
Yes.
And is that in the standards?
I'm going to defer to Kevin on this one.
It's the road ordinance doesn't discuss when utilities tears up a road to fix their infrastructure. The road ordinance only calls about when a new road is brought into the town inventory, it needs to meet certain criteria.
Okay, were we talking about restoring the road from line to line?
Well, we had talked about that was like what the state does when they have a contractor come in to do work, that's what they have to do from the center line of the road to the edge of the road, depending on how they do the work. But I remember Mike Washington saying he thought that you might know, Mike Cherry, when a utility has exceptions where they don't need to necessarily meet that because they don't apply for an application. They just do the work they need to do to fix their infrastructure. So this was the question about, we need to go look at to see whether or not state statute would even allow us to do it, or if the utilities are exempted from that.
I still have a feeling that, you know, if we set rules that everybody needs to follow, whoever digs up the road needs to follow those rules, whether it's RWPCA or SQA or Ash Water Company or anybody else that, you know, CLMP, SNET, whoever it may be, set a set of rules, publish them, and everybody's got to follow it.
Then the question is, if you want to do that, do you want to put that as a new ordinance or amend the road ordinance?
I would put it in the road ordinance to keep it simple. Keep it
Yeah, you
all in one
remember-
spot.
Yeah, you may want to talk to Steve Maslin to get his input on that as well.
As far as where it belongs.
Yeah. And to frankly, to provide the input and the language to go into the ordinance.
I was gonna say you would need the language for that, right?
So, I mean, since he's the director of public works and, I think we'd want to have him kind of help provide that level of what detail needs to go into the ordinance. Or can go into the ordinance. He may know it well. So you may want to, like I said, you may want to invite Steve Maslin to your meeting and have a discussion with him on that.
Yeah, he might know one that already exists.
Yep.
And we can just copy the language out of that one.
So do we want to continue this discussion and we'll reach out to him?
Yeah, let's reach out to Steve Maslin, Gary,
Okay,
and see if he knows of one that already exists. And we can just modify that language to meet our needs.
okay, any other discussion on this?
No.
We're going to our next item on the agenda is our continued discussion and possible action to issue a $560 refund to Mr. Paul Mongol at 827 Colonel Ledyard Highway in Ledyard for a fee charged for a zoning board of appeals, number 962. I did ask, I think Mike, you said that Julie was on vacation. I wanted to reach out and see if we can talk. We wanted to reach out and get some feedback from the town attorney on this, if I'm not correct.
Juliet is on vacation till Wednesday. We did speak with the attorney early on, and before Paul even put his request in, we were looking at fee structures, and it started with auto repair and gas stations where they've changed the statute. And then we went further and took a look at appeal of staff decisions. And we had made a recommendation and sent it on to Roxanne before we even knew Paul was asking for a refund. The only thing I'll say on Paul's refund up front is the state got their $60 and they're not going to give it back. So you may want to modify if you decide to give it back. The state's already got their 60 and you won't get that back. The other thing I'll say is on the day that Paul applied to appeal the decision, it predates me, but the ordinance was in place and the ordinance was followed by Mr. Mogul and town staff. So he paid the fee required by town ordinance. And that's
But I
all
think
I'll
it's-
say.
But the issue that we're discussing here is the fact that the statute is actually silent on the appeals.
At the time Paul applied, we followed the town ordinance. And I think the town council, the land use department, and others involved were not aware that there was a Superior Court decision parsing the statute to indicate that an appeal may not be an application and therefore may not require a fee. That specific court action does not set a precedent because it was in the Superior Court. And also the town did not have an ordinance establishing fees for that process. So is it a precedent? No. Can you use it? Sure, you can, you set the fee. It's on you to decide as a committee of the council to make a recommendation to the council on what to do. How's
Well-
that for a sidestep?
Nicely done, Mike. Well, it's my my thoughts on this is that it sounds like there's a hole in the system somewhere. So I'm all for giving Paul back his $500. He can use it more than the town can, being a small business owner, and we fixed the hole in the system. We revisited the fee structure.
That's your next action item on your agenda.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, because I mean, as far as, you know, just my little research into it is got to fix the hole. Any other comments or thoughts?
No, that's about it.
So what is the thought process on making a recommendation to the council on a refund?
I'm not following the question. Go ahead and give it to him, refund this money
Correct.
on the basis that there's a flawed, we have a flawed system and we're gonna fix it.
Right.
Yeah. That would be my recommendation. You know, his fee minus whatever the state took.
So can you do that as Mike? I know that seems like a pretty, you know, I'm just throwing it out there. Can you do that? Can you refund just the amount, or do we have to refund the whole thing if you're going to refund somebody?
We can only refund what was due to the town.
So it would just be the $500 then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we just collected the fee for the state and handed it to them. We didn't, it's nothing to do with us.
Correct. Right. All right. So right. So he would have to. So if we want to take that off our agenda, we would make a motion to recommend that to the council that we refund Mr. Paul Mongo.
Yes, and then we'd vote on it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, or any other discussion?
Aye.
But what, I just clarify what the motion actually is.
The motion would be to recommend to the council that we issue a refund in the amount of $500 to Mr. Paul Mongo of 827 Colonel Ledyard Highway for a fee charge for zoning board of appeals, number 962. All in favor?
I have one question
Sure.
for the discussion part.
So
Was
hold
any-
it. The motion needs to be, before you have that discussion, you need the,
Second the motion?
somebody needs to make the motion and second it.
Gary made the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
John second.
John second.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah.
So for the $500 refund to Mr. Paul Mogul, was any work done by any town employee on this issue?
It's my understanding that there's no action taken.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, there was action taken, and we actually involved our lawyer with his lawyer. There's a whole. All right, I wasn't going to go there, but I will. The appeal that Paul filed was against an action by the then zoning enforcement official that was not a final action and therefore was not appealable. However, it took our lawyer meeting with his lawyer and our staff to get that across so they could withdraw their action. Meantime, we expended money. But if I follow, if I understand what John's discussion was, that there's a hole in the system that we ought to plug, that we shouldn't be charging fees for staff errors to appeal staff errors, then that kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah,
makes
but,
sense.
I was gonna say the same thing, Mike, is that the fact that the town either expended funds or did work on behalf or as part of this appeal isn't that cost should not be germane to the discussion of whether or not he should have been charged in the first. And the reality is what you're looking at is Paul is filing for a refund because he feels, in accordance with a prior case in front of the Superior Court, that the fee should not have been charged in the first place. So it's like, just because the town staff and the town attorney got involved and the town itself spent money has nothing but no bearing to do with whether or not Mr. Mogul's afforded a refund or not.
And quite honestly, Naomi, town staff, the land use department, our legal support does a lot of work in support of the town and town residents without back charging for a lot of things.
Right.
The only things we charge for are those things on the fee schedule, and that's established by the town council
Okay,
in accordance with statute.
thank you.
Any other discussion on this?
No,
No,
All right, motion is there to, all in favor?
aye,
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. So we'll go on to the next item, the motion to amend the appendix of ordinance 300-011, zoning board of appeals fee schedules as contained in the draft dated November 18th of 2021.
was that a second? Is that a motion or discussion? I missed that part.
Yeah, hold on a minute, because my eyes are a little bugged out at the moment. Well, there is, I don't know if everybody got to see all the attachments on there. I'm trying to get them open. Give me a second here. My computer is not cooperating. There we go. And there you go. Okay, that's what I was trying to. So did everybody get to see this and look at this?
Briefly, Gary. I've been a little jammed up lately.
I hear you, trust me. This would be in order, is the appendix here, the ordinance providing for terms, establishing the fee. You want to have some more time to look at this, John?
Yeah, I need a little more time to wrap my head around it and figure out what we're doing.
Well, just to, if you don't mind, all this is just basically updating the fee schedule as an
That's what it
appendix
looks like
to
to
the
me.
ordinance. The recommendation is to strike the appeal of decision and strike the certification of the DMV approvals. My recommendation, that you guys can do what you want, but my recommendation is that you don't strike out the appeal decisions order ZEO. You just change the fee from $500 to $0. That way it's clear,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
because if you just strike out that, then it becomes ambiguous. Which is kind of, I think, what led us down this path, if I remember from history, because originally the ZBA's ordinance didn't have any fee schedule attached at all. As part of the ordinance rewrite that we did over the last couple of years, one of the things we got was this fee schedule, and that's what led to this. Because the only identification of what the fee was actually on the ZBA's application itself. That was the only place it was identified. And the reason why I say change that to $0, because that's consistent with what New London has for their fee schedule for the ZBA. And it literally says appeal decision as order zoning enforcement officer $0. that keeps it clear that no fee is to be charged. That's
Right, so
my
you would
recommendation.
keep, so that language stays, appeals a decision of order of the zoning enforcement officer, and then it's that language stays and then says 0.
Correct.
I like that. That way it's in there.
Correct.
And the answer is 0.
Correct. That's what I thought. I wasn't quite sure. Thank you. Appreciate that, because I wasn't quite. So we have that motion to amend that appendix. I'll make that motion again to amend the appendix of ordinance number 300-001, that zoning board of appeals fee schedules as contained in the draft dated November 18th, 2021, with the language that, if I can do that, that the language stay in and that instead of being striked out and 0 added to the certification of location approval, I'm sorry, to the appeals of the decision of order of the zoning enforcement officer.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Kevin, do you still want to strike out the certification of location approval for DMV? So strike that out and just change the appeals to 0.
Correct. Because
Okay,
Mike, if I
just wanted-
remember correctly, that the public hearing is no longer required in the change of the statute, correct?
Yeah, it took action by the Supreme Court of the state of Connecticut to clarify what the legislature did, but the statute that required a public hearing was canceled.
Correct.
So that doesn't exist anymore. And I think future action will actually remove that from the ZBA and make it part of staff function.
Yep. Okay.
So hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me. On to item number 4, continued discussion regarding Public Act 21-1, legalization of cannabis, marijuana retail stores. Mike Cultivator. Do we have any discussion?
Didn't Connecticut just come out with a new law regarding that? I haven't had a chance to read it, but it just came out of the General Assembly.
No, this
yesterday.
is, so this is on here just so they get ready. The council can't act on this until zoning acts first. So planning and zoning has to do their act to put a moratorium in place first. And then once they do, we can move forward in this to put it to a referendum question.
Okay, real quick, planning and zoning has established the moratorium for 1 year, which will run to November of
Okay.
2022.
Okay,
That date is important because buried in that law, John, is the ability to have a referendum on the issue at a normal election. And at first I thought maybe we could do that during a budget term. But when I went and read all the definitions and back and forth, it has to be a normal election where somebody's being elected. So if we had a special election, we could do it in that, but we don't. The next election is November, so the moratorium runs past that election if the town wishes to try and prohibit it. Meantime, zoning is going to work on some zoning regs if we decide to have it in town.
So now to the point now, Gary, that was for you to act for land use to say whether or not you want to prohibit cannabis establishments in town to go forward on a referendum question.
say that one more time.
So now it's with land use. Now this is actually with you. The land use commission has to now decide whether or not the town wants to pursue banning cannabis retail establishments in town. And if the council so decides to do so, then it would go to a referendum vote in November.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Well, the other way is a petition by electors.
Right.
So I would recommend somebody on your committee or admin committee take a close look at the statute on how to get the issue to a referendum. And of course, the charter always allows referendum questions.
Right.
Dave may disagree with me because we've had trouble getting them there in the past, but we can finally get a question there. We figured out how to do it, but it's got to start with you guys.
So I'm saying, I guess the recommendation would be you guys to go review the state statute and
Yeah.
see what the
yeah.
process entails to figure, to move to for the next step forward.
Yep. Hold on here, I'm just writing some stuff down. So we'll continue that discussion and that's what we'll do. And we'll continue this on for now, if that's all right with everybody.
Yep.
And Gary, if you haven't looked yet, that statute's about 300 pages long, and the part you want is about 4 sentences.
4
buried in the
sentences?
middle.
Just gotta find the 4 sentences
Yeah,
buried in the
good
middle
luck
of
finding
300
it.
pages.
I can't wait. All right.
The crown is heavy, Gary.
Hold on here, I'm just writing a couple notes for myself.
Look at the OLR report and you'll find it there a lot easier because they parse that out by subject, which is a lot easier.
And actually Roxanne is included in the attachments as part of the agenda. The information you're looking for.
Right, oh yeah. All right. So we're gonna, for now, we're gonna carry this, and we're gonna continue discussion on this. Excuse me. Moving on to item number 5 on the agenda. Continued discussion and possible action to periodically review the list of town-owned properties and update accordingly for the assignment of administrative control. I know we talked about this, excuse me, I'm sorry, last month, and I know we wanted a chance to kind of look at things. John recommended maybe going page by page, on this together. Being sick and being in my busy season, I have not put a lot of thought and a lot of study into this as of yet. I'm open to hear what anybody else.
So I haven't spent any time on it either, Gary. But my thing is to look at, see if we can offload some of these properties that the town has control over, because we're not in the real estate business. If we could do something for them.
Correct. I mean, I would be in favor of continuing this, this discussion right now. Just kind of, like I said, it's been between the holidays and having COVID again. I just haven't really had a chance to get my head around that. Yeah, I don't know, anybody else?
Can I just, I'm gonna go ahead and volunteer and take the first.
Okay.
page.
Sure.
And if Kevin and Mike can help me with any questions I may have later. And then at our next meeting, I can report back to you about how it went. And then we can go from there. How does that sound?
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
feel free to give me a call, Naomi.
Okay, thank you.
But also, and John, to your point, I don't disagree. But this task isn't really about getting rid of the property. This is just identifying what properties we've added and what properties we've removed, and should we look at what administrative controls,
Should they be under?
who
Right.
who they're under now, and should they be changed to somebody else for whatever. I know
Correct.
Mike-
Yeah, I might have gone off into the weeds with what I just said, but yeah, I didn't realize this was that big.
Oh, yeah, no, and I've said the same thing. There's several of these properties that we should get rid of as well, just that we need to have a discussion with the mayor to have him involved to go do that.
Something.
And then it goes to town, and then it goes to town meetings, and it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah. Like it was back in the day.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, but Naomi, feel free to give me a call. We can discuss.
Thank you.
So we're going to continue discussion on that. Where am I here?
Naomi, I'd like to help you with that.
Great, thank you, John. I
I guess-
appreciate it.
I got some time freed up.
All right, we're on to item number 6 on the agenda. continued discussion regarding the progress of enforcing regulations to address blight issues. I know we didn't, that's why we got you here, Mike. Mike Cherry?
Yeah, I provided your report that's color coded and
Yeah.
part of what I've been doing, sitting in that office when I can, is going back, trying to find records that closed out any violation, whether it's blight or zoning or short-term rental. How do we close that action out? So the list you have in front of you
Mhm.
shows a bunch in orange
Right.
that I'm not actively following, but I don't really have a record saying how they closed. And you'll notice some of those show up again in pink as a repeat offender. Because as I go look, what I find out is, looking at pictures, it hasn't gotten any better. And in fact, it's gotten worse, even though there may be an intervening inspection that showed the problem was corrected. So they've relapsed. So I'm in the process now of going through those first 15 or so, and they go back to when blight moved from the mayor's office to land use.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, yeah,
and I'm following those. And some of them, we've taken action. 334 Colonel Ledyard Highway. The mayor has sent Public Works out to clean up the property twice now that I'm aware of. And we've placed liens on the property to recover our expenditure of funds. So that is, the blight instruction appears to work, that it's just a matter of getting out there. It's the biggest handicap right now is I work about 15 hours a week, and it's a 60-hour-a-week job between
Yeah.
blight and short-term rentals and zoning. So, if you guys know somebody that's seeking full-time employment, that would be a good enforcement officer. Juliet would love to meet them.
Is she actively looking?
Yeah, it's posted in a couple places. We've talked with COG. The problem is, John, everybody's looking for land use people, even enforcement people, and their starting salaries make ours look like an insult. So it's hard to find full-time people.
Weren't you guys, like, wasn't it this discussion to try to like group this with other towns, which I think would be the way to go?
I would find it very difficult to get the level of effort right now in Ledyard. The enforcement official is responsible for blight, short-term rentals, zoning. In an ideal world, wetlands. I'm not certified for wetlands, so I'm not the wetlands enforcement officer. So that's more than a part-time position. Even putting in 20 hours a week, I'm not getting there. I think it's about a 60-hour-a-week job to get everything settled out. And once you move short-term rentals to zoning, that's gonna, it's gonna make it somewhat easier, but it's gonna make it harder because now there's rules that can actually be enforced. Today, there's no rules, so if somebody doesn't get a permit, as I've worked with Mary trying to get words in the ordinance, I've worked with Mr. Treaster trying to get words in a zoning regulation. But it's not a part-time position at all. Just my cut on it. I've talked to the director of land use and recommended that she draw an ideal organizational chart and get with the mayor and the finance committee of the town council and figure out how to drive towards that. And I guess, I see Mary sitting there. I've talked to the HR director and asked him if I could help him with the succession plan for other positions in town hall. Small towns, it's very difficult because Ledyard, we've done an excellent job of paring down our employees to meet the minimum needs required. We've gotten rid of a lot of assistants too and extra people. So there's nobody being mentored to take our one-of positions when those people leave.
Right.
It's difficult. But anyway, on the blight issue, by next month, a lot of the orange ones should either go away or show up down with the pink. There aren't a whole lot of new ones. A lot of the new ones that come up when they get the letter, they immediately contact me and take action to go correct the problem. But the reoccurring ones keep coming back. And some of the issues just aren't blight. It's not a blight issue. Or when you dig into it, you find the property in question actually belongs to the town, not the resident. So it does get cleaned up, but by a different group.
Right.
Mike, do we know if any of these properties are owned by elderly or disabled people that may not have the ability to maintain the property?
Yes.
Make a good Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, it would on some of them. Some of them are beyond that. They've gone far enough that that's not a real good option. But I'll look at that and see.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't pursued. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
So you would like this like quarterly, Gary? Monthly? What are your thoughts on how often you want to report?
I think quarterly would be all right.
Yeah, I think quarterly probably makes
Okay.
more sense. I mean, just looking at the list, I mean,
It doesn't grow real quick. Yeah.
that's kind of,
I mean, the real reason, I talked to Mike about this, the real reason why we get the list is so that we see what enforcements, what actions are going on. And it's really more for, not for following, more of a, hey, is the ordinance effective? And do we need to think about modification of the ordinance to make it more effective if we think it's not being effective? That's really the point for you guys to look at this.
so to that point, Kevin, right? So that would, right, that would make sense then to, because I mean, if anyone else has any comments on that, but I take it that, I take both points, like Mike, you said, it's really a full-time job. However, you're looking at the list there. It's not like, I guess what I'm saying is it's just, at this point, what really can you do? You know what I mean?
Well, this ordinance is a good example of progressive discipline. It has multiple steps before you really can bring a hammer down on somebody and affect their life.
Right.
I'm more of a, my objective is to correct the blight problem and get them to have a piece of property that looks good in the community. Some of these, when I go out and look, it's easy to find them because that's the one sore thumb on the whole street.
Right.
That to me is blight. If I can drive down the street and see it without looking at addresses, that's blight. But this ordinance was well done. It's got a progressive discipline built into it. But once again, it's one out of 4 or 5 different areas that you're asking an enforcement official to keep track of. So the blight area, it looks like we're pretty much under control. I will say that the last one on the list, I got a call from John Rodolico. That was something he had filed in 2017 and it kind of disappeared. So I went out to look again. Yeah, it's blight. But, I sent them a letter Thursday before the Christmas break and had a phone call Tuesday when I was back in the office saying, what can we do to help you? Which to me is somebody that understands the problem and wants to fix it. A lot of them, you send a letter and you don't even know if they ever got the letter. So the next one goes out registered in regular mail. The first letter is always notice of violation, request for voluntary compliance. Are you aware that you've managed to trip a wire that puts you in violation of an ordinance in the town of Ledyard, and how can I help you? And most of them want to help. Or they have special situations, and I'll be honest, if they're moving towards fixing the problem, most of the time, the neighbor who complained, and I am perfectly happy that they're moving in the right direction.
Right,
Uh,
progression.
If that helps.
So do we need any other discussion on this? We'll continue our discussion. We'll get reports quarterly.
Yep, no more.
All right, Mike, thank you. Item number 7 on the agenda, continued discussion regarding potential future uses for the Clark Farm property there at 1025 Colonel Ledyard Highway.
I'd say leave it green, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't,
I haven't heard of any interest in the property other than Parks and Rec.
As always.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Okay.
right now, it's being used by the Tri-Town Tail, they're using a part of it. And also, Walter Major is farming an additional part of it. So right now we have a lease agreement with Mr. Major for farming a considerable portion of the land.
All right, is this motion needs to stay on our agenda, or can we take it off?
I'll leave that up to you. I left it on because just to keep track of more.
It doesn't-
more, just to
doesn't-
keep it busy- Just to keep it
Yeah, I
visible.
remember you're saying that. I have that on my notes. It's just kind of to keep it on just keep it on our radar, I guess. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to just, do we have anything
No,
to
it doesn't
say?
hurt to leave it on. Just, if there's no interest in the property, why keep discussing it?
Well, there is,
Other than Major and then the trail.
right, well, that's what's being used for now, but it's
Yeah.
potential future uses. And I think when we say future uses, we're talking town future uses, not necessarily selling the property or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, we can
You
do
know,
that.
it's the kind of thing like, oh, all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, we need to build a new high school. Where do you go put a new high school?
Okay,
Where does the town have a piece of property big enough? Well, this would be one, right? Could be. I'm not saying it is. I might have been, I put the paper tomorrow that we're building a new high school at the Clark Farm, but something like that. Or
I don't know.
preferably, the whole thing is I want to I've always wanted to maintain that as open space as it is right now.
Yeah,
It's being
I
actively
agree
used
with
for
that.
farming. It's being used as part of the Tri-Town Trail. I think that's a good use for it. And it was more to keep it from other uses as well. Because I love Don Greasy, but Don Greasy wanted to get his hands on that property as bad as he could. to
yeah, you
turn
tear it
into
up.
soccer fields. So
You tear it all up.
exactly.
No, I agree. And I think we keep it on and I agree it should be green. I mean, it should stay, just that way. So.
Kevin, Chairman Dabrowski, I have a quick question. So how long is I can't remember, was it a lease or a working agreement with Mr. Major?
I think it's a 3-year lease, if I remember correctly, that we signed last year.
I think so, yeah.
It was like a 3-year lease.
A 3-year lease, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
He was doing a 1-year lease renewable, then last year he renewed for he re-upped for a 3-year lease
Okay.
with expansion. That once he crossed over the Joe Clark Brook, that he was gonna go farm additional acreage on the other side of the brook.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, we'll move on. Continue discussion regarding the status update regarding security and safety concerns regarding the park on East Street.
Has there been any more incidents?
None that I'm aware of. You may wanna just shoot an email off to Chief Rich to see if you can give an update from him.
Yeah, that
Um,
one was.
I mean, I've talked to some of the neighbors, not since prior to the holidays, but I haven't, I say holidays, prior to Thanksgiving, the last time I ran into one of the neighbors, that he hadn't expressed that there was any new concerns that he had.
All right, so we can reach
Yeah,
out
cut
to
that
him
brush
and
back.
do that.
Yeah, just reach out to Chief Rich and ask him if he can provide an update.
Perfect. All right, any other comments or questions on that?
No.
Moving on, any other old business proper to come before the committee? Hearing none, I will move on to new business. First item on the new business is a motion to adopt a proposed resolution, Town of Ledyard endorsement, to participate in the Greenway nomination of the Tri-Town Trail to the Connecticut Greenway Council, has contained in the draft we have here dated December 21st, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Questions?
If I could, Gary, Mike Cherry.
Yep.
Has this gone through the Director of Land Use, and is it in concurrence with the current plan of conservation and development? I mean, I remember Dave Holdridge back, my God, Dave, it must be 15 years ago when we first started talking greenways in the plan of conservation and development. That would be a great endorsement for this going forward. I just don't know if Mike, if you've had a chance to talk to Juliet or not.
Well, this is consistent with the town plan of conservation and development, where back in, I think it was 2008, there was an open space plan, a committee and a plan for the town of Ledyard, which was then kind of amended to the town plan of conservation and development, which recommended this area to be, it wasn't as, at that time, we weren't as specific about the town, Tri-Town Trail, but it's the same area, the same north-south corridor that was recommended in the open space plan back in 2008.
So, it does say here, whereas the Town of Ledyard's 2003 Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD, recommends the development of town-wide and intertown networks of trails, and furthermore, recommends and encourages integrated and linked open space to reduce the pattern of fragmentation. Also, says the Greenway designation is also consistent with the goals outlined in the Ledyard Plan of Conservation and Development and in the SCOG Master Plan.
Yes.
My question is more along the lines of, have we involved the town's Director of Land Use in this process? Or is she going to get it backhanded from the town council?
We have not actually talked with her directly about this, this particular motion, but of course, it's an old idea that's being brought forth now as a.
Oh, I agree.
specific
I agree.
motion.
Absolutely. And I'm sure she would be happy to endorse it. I'm just saying, let's not leave one of our assets off on the sidelines. Let's get her involved from the start.
Okay, we can forward this to her.
If you'd like to, I can stop in tomorrow and speak with
She's out till Wednesday, but thanks, Mike.
her. Then I'll go on Wednesday.
Mm.
Thursday. All right, I'll keep track of it. I'll go and speak to her about it. Informal, let her know.
Thank you.
All right, so do we want to shelve this until next month, until you've had that?
Yes.
chance? And then we can make our motion then. So we're gonna,
Well, before I know what you're gonna do. Can I just have a quick question, Mike or Dave? I'm not sure if you can help me on this one. In the nomination application, item number 10 in the list says, if the Greenway is a municipal project, is it included in the plan of conservation and development? While yes, it's included in the plan of conservation and development, it is not a municipal project.
the Greenway is a municipal project. It is included in local plan of conservation and development. So-
I mean, the town has been very supportive and will continue to support. but this is not a municipal project. So I'm not sure if the application needs to be fixed. That's all I'm saying. I'm not support, nothing against it. It's just that I think your application might be incorrect in stating that, yes, it's a municipal project when it is not.
Well, isn't the idea of designating it as a greenway, isn't that a municipal project?
No,
What do you have to do?
the
with
trail,
a
the
municipal
trail is,
project?
the trail is not a municipal project. The trail is by the Tri-Town Trail Committee, which is not a municipal agent.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So-
Yeah.
Okay, well, like I said, it is part of our plan of conservation development to be supportive of the Tri-Town Trail. And I 100% want to continue to support the Tri-Town Trail. I just don't want an inaccuracy on the application to come back to say, hey, this is a municipal project when it is not. It's actually being funded through a private organization.
And Kevin, that's why I asked that we get the Director of Land Use involved so we can use her expertise to ferret
Yeah.
those things out.
Correct. That's in that. So that's one thing I said. We could, in the application, probably say, no, but it is in the plan of conservation development versus it's not, it is a municipal project when it isn't. So I don't want that to be a thing against it. Oh, it's a municipal project and they're just looking for funding. If you want the great, you know what I'm saying? Where you're a private, not-for-profit organization that would probably stand a better chance of getting a grant fund than the town would.
Yeah. Okay, so that check mark should be in a different place, I guess.
Well, my question is, I'm not sure if it's right or not. That's the question.
Hmm.
And to Mike's point, Juliet may be very instrumental in helping you to navigate the.
Yeah,
with the
that would be
application.
a good question for her, because I do also, I mean, I know in other places, it's, it does say it's not a government project. It's.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
not sure if it's
definitely-
wrong or not. It's just, it stood out to me of being, you got yes. I think it's
Definitely a
yes because
question
it is
for-
part of the plan of conservation development, but it's not a municipal project.
So it'd be worth having Juliet look that over too and see what she says.
That's where Mike was going.
Yeah.
That we probably should get the expertise from our director of land use to help.
Yep.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
I just have a question. When are the applications due?
Yeah.
What's the deadline?
The Greenway Council meets in the first week of April.
So
There's plenty of time.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when did the application have to be submitted by? Even though they meet in April, when are they expecting the applications to be? Is there a deadline there that you know of, Dave?
I don't know of the deadline. I think they just have to have it in before the meeting, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So do we have any other questions or discussions before we?
Oh, I'm good.
Just trying
So
to
wait a
think
minute,
here.
was a motion made and seconded because of?
We're
so-
not, well, we're gonna,
and it needs to
we're
be,
gonna wait on that. And they're gonna come back and we'll,
right, I know, but was a motion made and seconded?
not, I don't know if it was seconded, no.
Now, he
Okay.
just read the.
I
Then
just
we're
read the
good.
motion.
he Read the item.
Yep,
Okay, then we're good.
yep. I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, nobody seconded that, so. All right, so, is there any other old business, proper to come before? I think that should say new business, but.
Yeah.
It does say old.
No, I'm good.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll
Motion
make
to
a
adjourn.
adjourn.
Who seconded that?
Well,
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy.
yeah, you too.
You too.
Feel better.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
See you
Bye-bye.
later. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you, Roxanne.
Talk to you guys tomorrow.